Going to do a basic crash course for being a militiaman. So first point I want to go over is why. So being in a militia or being part of a survival or preparedness group or part of a security force of a survival preparedness group, I should say. You know, there's not a lot of folks out there actually that are part of the law enforcement community, part of the military community. Not sure quite so much about police, but part of the military, less than 1% of the population of the United States has ever contributed or been a part of the military community. And I don't know what it is about military veterans, but they like to keep a lot of information for themselves. I don't know if it makes them feel good. It doesn't make me feel good. I want everybody to know. I want everybody in my surrounding area to know as much, if not more, about me, because when crap hits the fan, I don't want to be doing videos like this. I don't want to be doing training classes like this. I want everybody just to already know what to do. So my second point is basic gear. So, you know, I'm wearing full kit right now, except for my helmet. But, you know, basic gear that you need is what I started out with 8 or 9 years ago, and that's just a long gun, which I had a 12 gauge partner pump from G-Bows. I think they're like $120, $140, maybe even right now in 2021, you can still get them. A pistol, which I had a $100 Taurus 40 cal years ago. I bought off a friend in a parking lot. I mean, you gotta start somewhere. An IFAC, which I'll talk about IFACs in a little bit, but IFAC's individual first aid kit. You know, I started out with a $10 first aid kit from Walmart in a backpack. Just something to hold your gear, something to hold your IFAC and all your extra stuff, your commo stuff, commos, communications, radios, cell phones, stuff like that. And that can be, you know, a $300 assault pack. That can be a $20 backpack from Walmart. You know, it's just really what you want to put into it. When it comes to guns, though, of course, there's the 4 basic rules. You know, I just want to go over them real quick, but it's basically, you know, muzzle direction. Just be careful of where you're pointing your gun. You know, nothing pisses me off more when I'm at the range with somebody or I'm at somebody's house or whatever, and they're showing me their guns, or I'm showing my guns to them, and they put zero effort into which way they point their gun. You know, point it at my face, point it at my body, point it at their mom, all that other stuff. That's bullcrap. It's so easy just to watch that muzzle direction. Up or down. It's not that hard. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. You know, there's been times, you know, I've had a negligent discharge. There's a lot of folks that have had negligent discharges just because they weren't paying too close of attention. Mine went through the ceiling of my apartment about 6 or 7 years ago. You know, it freaked me out. You know, I was treating it as if it's loaded. It was in a shoulder holster, and it fell out of my shoulder holster and hit the ground. And it didn't have any kind of drop safety or anything like that. So the bullet went through the ceiling. I got rid of that holster. But point is, treat every firearm as if it's loaded. It's not that hard. Target beyond. You know, when you're shooting, it goes back when I was in high school. I was out on a deer hunt. I was out on my stepdad's friend's property, and you know, he was shooting his bolt action. I don't know what caliber it was, at a deer, but he didn't care of what was beyond his target. And you know, those shots came in my vicinity. You know. Almost a half mile away. And, you know, fortunately we had radios, and I got a hold of him via the radio, and I said, hey man, stop shooting because you're shooting in my direction. And you know, he stopped. But, you know, that was back when I was in high school. That was back in the early 2000s with bolt actions. That's not even with assault rifles or semi-automatic pistols or anything like that. You know, and the last rule of safety is keep your finger off the trigger. You know, these firearms are not, you know, squirt guns, or not airsoft guns or anything like that. These are deadly weapons. They're meant to kill people, kill animals. Okay, you know, sure, you know, we can get used to just killing paper with them, shooting paper, shooting steel targets. It's real easy to, you know, get used to that. But remember that these are meant to kill, and pay attention where you put your finger. You know, and you know, one of my favorite movies is Black Hawk Down, and one of the Rangers, he goes, "This is my safety, sir." That's bull crap. Just keep your finger off the trigger. If you have a safety, use it. And of course, there's our firearms out there that don't have safeties like locks and stuff like that. But, you know, just pay attention to where you're putting your finger. Pay attention to if you have ammunition in your gun. Pay attention to where you're pointing your rifle. These aren't that hard. So number 3, commo, which is communications. I want to go over Baofangs. Namely, I've got a Baofang right here. Oops, right here, there we go. Got a Baofang right here. You can go on Amazon, buy them for $25, $30, $35, something like that, for your basic model. Just want to go over the limitations real quick. They're going to come with what's called a rubber duck antenna, which is 4 to 6 inches long. Those aren't really that good, honestly. So with your basic Baofang, with your basic antenna, you really only get maybe half mile to a mile worth of range. You're going to need to upgrade your Baofangs if you're going to buy those. So you're going to need to get longer antennas. I've got a 43 or 42.5-inch Aubrey right here attached to my kit. If you can get repeaters, build repeaters. I've got a simple repeater right here. So basically, I've just got a Pelican case for like a small pistol, and I've epoxied the rubber duck antenna, and that's just basically for my receiving. I've also got a 42.5-inch Aubrey right here. That's for my transmit, and then also I have an adapter to adapt from my Baofang or my ham to a CB coax to run, say, a magnet mount or off a base station or something like that, just so I can get more range. But if I open this up, all this is just a basic 2 Baofangs and a repeater circuit. You can buy a repeater circuit off of Amazon. They're like $25, $26. There's not a big deal. Now, you can also buy actual ham handheld repeaters. They're like $80, $90. For example, the RT 23, I believe it is. Those are about $80 or so, and it's just one unit. You can also buy base stations that have built-in repeaters. Those are going to be more expensive, over $100. And, you know, I'll post some pictures here just to kind of give you a good idea. But, you know, with your basic Baofang, you're only going to get half mile to a mile. Even with some nice antennas like the 42.5-inch Aubrey, you're only going to get maybe 5 or 6. And you're going to need repeaters, like manual repeaters, for example, to get anything more than 10 miles. Now, you can also do CBs, but the thing you got to remember with CBs is they're a lot more easy to get a hold of. You can drive to a truck stop and buy a CB. You can't drive to a truck stop or a gas station and buy a ham radio. So because of that, the ham radio community is a lot more exclusive than the CB community. So with CBs, you know, they're great to have. You know, you could build a base station fairly inexpensively for, you know, less than $200. I have videos on how to do that, how to set up a basic catapult tower, stuff like that. But they're not as exclusive. So you're going to get a lot more traffic. You're going to get a lot more bull crap on there. A lot more people listening in. Whereas with ham, such as with the Baofangs, they're a lot more exclusive. So they're great for, you know, smaller distances and for smaller groups. Let's see. You can use a program called Chirp, which is free online. You can get a programming cable for your Baofangs and your other handheld CBs, and you can program your handheld radios for ham, and they'll be a lot more easier to use. They'll be a lot more easier to kind of get with repeaters. And I do have a video on how to set up a Baofang repeater system using offsets and stuff like that. I'll try to put a link in the description of that video in the comments. And also, I want to post just a quick table on the phonetic alphabet. You know, it really pisses me off. I know it probably doesn't for a lot of other folks, but people misusing the phonetic alphabet and, you know, saying stuff like A as in apple, B as in boy, C as in card, stuff like that. The phonetic alphabet is so easy to learn. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Foxtrot, Echo. Just learn it. It's not that hard. Sorry about that switch. My phone was starting to overheat in the direct sun, and this is probably a better view anyways. But next thing I want to go over real quick is convoys. Whether you're in one or you're ambushing one, when you're in a convoy, you want to stay as close as you can together. So defensive driving goes way out the freaking window. You need to be almost right on that person's bumper in front of you. You also want to have your most combat effective people in the front vehicles, okay? The reason why I say that is in a lot of instances, inexperienced fighters will take out the lead vehicle, okay? Because they took out the lead vehicle does not mean that the people inside have been taken out. So, in that instance, the second vehicle in the line needs to really just push that front vehicle either out of harm's way or out of the way. That's a consideration that you need to make. You know, if you know, whether you're all a whole column of militia, or if you know you have VIPs, if you have women and children in your column, you know, do you need to stop and fight, or do you need to keep that column going? Okay. Now, in contrast to that, if you're ambushing a convoy, okay, now if you're the larger force, you know, it's no big deal to take out that lead vehicle and just work your way back. But typically in guerrilla warfare, you're going to be the inferior force. And in that instance, you know, you just start in the rear and work yourself forward. So if a convoy is going, say, 60 miles per hour, and I'm sorry if this sounds a little bit like a math problem, but if the convoy is going 60 miles per hour, you may start at the rear and have an ambush point and have multiple ambush points going forward, so that the first ambush point takes out the rearmost vehicle. Okay? Then 100 yards later, a second ambush point takes out the second most rear vehicle. And they just keep on working yourself forward. Now, if you're in a convoy, for this very reason, it's very important for the lead vehicles to keep track of what's going on with the rear vehicles and vice versa. So in that instance, you'd have your lead vehicle say, rear vehicle check in over the radio every 5 to 10 seconds. And yes, that may sound like too much, but it's not whenever lives are in danger. Okay? So that's basically convoy. Next thing I want to go over real quick is medical. So, first thing is your tourniquet. This is what's called a cat tourniquet. First thing you see on it is a white stripe and it says time. So it's recommended you have a Sharpie or some other kind of marker on it so that you can mark the time that you put this tourniquet on. Reason being is you don't want to just put a tourniquet on for any reason, and if you do put a tourniquet on, it needs to be adjusted occasionally, every once in a while, by medical professionals. Otherwise that limb can be lost from the blood being cut off to it. Okay? So basically, in order to just put one of these things on, you just open it up, move the time over, open it all the way open, and you've got this sleeve here, okay? And your adjustment buckle. So say, for example, if I got shot in the arm, I was bleeding out of my arm quite profusely, I want to put the tourniquet an inch or 2 or 3 above that wound, tighten it down, and wrap it up. Now you have this is what's called a windlass. You're going to want to turn that windlass as many times as you physically can, and then lock it in. And then you take your time and you lock it down and you write the time. Okay? That's how you properly put a tourniquet on. Next thing I want to go over real quick is pressure bandages. Okay, say you don't have a tourniquet. Say you get shot in the shoulder, something like that. You can't put a tourniquet on it. You have what's called a pressure bandage. You can make a pressure bandage real quick just by using gauze. You'll take gauze, you'll pack it in best as possible, and then you'll wrap it best as possible. Let's say a triangular bandage or anything like that. That's called a pressure bandage. Next thing I want to go over real quick is chest seals. Say you get shot in the chest. Say you get shot in the lungs. Say you get shot in the stomach. Okay? You put a pressure seal on it. Okay? Basically all it is just a big old chunk of tape. You peel the back off, you stick it on. Some are going to be vented chest seals. Some are not going to be vented chest seals. The vented chest seals are obviously going to have a vent on it. You're going to know what they look like. A non-vented is just going to basically be just a big old chunk of tape. Those you're occasionally going to have to peel up a corner and let some of the fluids drain out. Otherwise, those fluids are going to build up pressure and bust the whole bandage off. Then you don't have the pressure seal anymore. That's your quick rundown on first aid. Next thing I want to go over real quick is gunfights. Cover versus concealment. Okay? Cover is actually having some kind of armor or object between you and the gunfire that can protect you. Okay? Concealment is more like camouflage. It's stuff like hiding behind bushes, trees, plywood, stuff like that. Whereas cover is going to be stuff like engine blocks and axles, behind, say, concrete walls and stuff like that. That's cover, okay? And when it comes to vehicles, I see a video all the time of, say, like police officers, for example, hiding out behind open doors of a police cruiser. That's concealment. That's not cover, okay? I don't care what caliber it is, 9mm, 45, 5.56, 7.62 by 39, 308, 30-06, don't care. It's all going to zip right through that door and right into that officer, okay? That's concealment, not cover, okay? Now, when you're moving around in a gunfight and you don't have body armor, it's important to stand in a fighting position, okay? It's no different than if you're going to punch somebody in the face. You're going to want to stand in this basic fighting position, feet shoulder width apart, pointed appropriately towards your enemy, okay? Now, if you don't have body armor on, you're going to want to kind of turn your body to make yourself a smaller target, okay? So you have your pistol, bang, bang, bang. You have your body as a smaller target. Now, if you have body armor on, like I've got, you're going to actually want to present that body armor to protect your whole body. Obviously, if you're standing sideways and you do collect a bullet, it's going to go through quite a few vital organs, whether it's your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, your stomach, whatever. It's going to zip right through it. So if you have body armor on, you're going to want to present that body armor to the best of your ability. Bang, bang, bang. All right? Now, as for pieing, there's videos all over the place. You can go all over the internet, all over YouTube. I have all these videos about pieing, corners, stuff like that. But the most important thing to remember whenever you're pieing corners is when you're actually crossing the threshold, which is, say, the doorway or the corner itself or whatever, make sure that you are pulling the muzzle of your weapon, whether it's a pistol or a rifle or whatever, towards yourself, so that your face and your muzzle basically break that threshold at approximately the same time. Some of you might be sitting there saying, well, Red, what happens if I'm carrying a big old long-barreled AR-15? I can't pull that back to my face, okay? Well, that's true, but you can always pop the buttstock off your shoulder, bring it up, muzzle down, and go through that threshold at approximately the same time. And the reason why I want to do this is because the enemy, if they see a muzzle breaching the threshold, they can put their hands on it, they can rip it out of the way. They can make sure it's not anywhere near them. So try to control that muzzle, put it as close to your face or your body as possible as you're crossing the threshold. That's basically your biggest principle of playing a corner. So last thing I want to go over real quick is organization. So I recommend 6 to 12 man teams. I don't recommend sitting there assigning ranks out to everybody. You know, I do have a captain rank on my chest. That is an honor that's been bestowed upon me by my core group, as well as several of the other groups that I advise for. You know, it's frustrating. I sit there and tell these folks that, you know, crap hits the fan. I'm probably not going to be around to help y'all because I'm probably going to collect a bullet first. But for whatever reason, they just keep on telling me that I'm in charge, and you know, they're here to take direction from me, which is fine. I'm going to do the best that I can to the best of my ability. But outside of the actual leader or the coordinator of your group and maybe the second in command, you don't need to sit there and assign out all these ranks. As a matter of fact, if you sit there and sign out all these ranks and you start handing out private and corporal and you know, these smaller ranks to people, you're going to start belittling them, and you're going to start having more drama and problems in your group than anything. It's not going to help solve anything. So anyways, I appreciate y'all for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, share it to your friends and family. Have a good day.